Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and another tutorial. Today I am happy to sew along with you the new blue Calla pattern. This is the Passion Flower Tote. Oh my gosh, I love this pattern so much. Like seriously, look at this detailed strapping and accents, and it's such a classy looking bag. Let me show you some of the amazing features of this bag. Celine has definitely outdone herself. So you have this front slip pocket here. I think this would be absolutely amazing, even if this was like a print of some sort or some sort of panel that you really wanted to accent and then the rest was like solid. There's so many different things you can do with this bag to give it your unique touch and look to it. It's just amazing. So it's got a slip pocket here, purse feet, this amazing, like seriously, I have never done anything like this with strapping before. It's genius. Celine is amazing when it comes to planning this stuff. Recessed zipper and slip pockets and zipper pockets on the inside. The pattern was written to be domestic machine friendly, and just like in all of my tutorials, I usually end up changing things to make them more industrial machine friendly, because some things that are domestic machine friendly aren't necessarily domestic machine or industrial machine. Did I say that right? Things that aren't domestic machine friendly aren't necessarily industrial machine friendly, as the industrial machine will eat fabrics like you have no idea. So this pattern is brilliant. The only things I did different was I did my straps different, mainly because I keep all of my straps the same in all of my bags as my clients expect the same. So I always do my straps the same way, and I always do my lining panels, the zipper pocket and the slip pockets the same way, just because that is what my clients expect. So if you want to do them as per the pattern, please definitely do follow that. I find doing my straps this way is more industrial friendly. Her way is amazing too. It's done in a loop method. It's great for when you don't want to be using rivets too, because you don't need them, where my way you definitely do need them. And it's 100% domestic machine friendly, where is, because I'm on industrial machine, my straps need to have a little bit more gumption to them, or else my machine will definitely eat that up. The way she does the straps is amazing. It's very decorative stitching, and it's done in this loop method. I don't show you how to do that in this video, but I will include a link to her stone crop satchel down below, where she does the straps in the exact same method. You definitely have to check it out. So yeah, so keep in mind, I don't show how to do the straps in the video, but if you want to learn how to do the straps as per the pattern, there is a link to a video down below, and Celine will also be releasing her own tutorial on this hopefully soon. So what else? The only other thing that I changed, I did my zipper panel slightly different again, just to make it a little more industrial friendly, and the turning hole in the bottom. So this is a birth bag, which is great. We all love birth bags. It is birthed through the zipper pocket. I do it slightly different, mainly because I have severe carpal tunnel and my arm just cannot handle birthing a bag through a zipper pocket. So I left the entire bottom of this open, and I pulled it through the zipper pocket, and I finished my bottom through the zipper pocket. And I show you how I do that in here. If you don't have any problems with tendonitis like I do, definitely go ahead and birth it as per the pattern. Besides that, I followed the pattern pretty much to a T. It is written perfectly, super easy to understand. Okay, so what did I use for materials in this bag? So this exterior is actually a fuzzy, I love it. It's a fuzzy upholstery fabric from Galaxy Kustoms. My vinyl is the Canuck vinyl from Galaxy Kustoms in Loon black. All of my hardware, except for the zipper ends, or the strap ends, were from Serial Bagmakers. My strap ends and actually my swivel clasps were from, and rivets were from Emmaline bags. My zipper and zipper pulls, oh no, my zipper pull is from Serial Bagmakers. My zippers from blue Calla. I used Pretty in Pink sew foam for my main stabilizer. That is something also in the pattern. If you're on a domestic machine, you may choose for the main panels to use fusible fleece. In the pattern, it says you can use either or, but the seams do get a little bit thick on the sides. So do what your machine can handle. Know your machine well. I used So Foam is my main stabilizer. I have Decovil Heavy in the bottom of the bag. What else? I didn't interface any woven interfacing as I used a waterproof canvas, but if you are using cotton, make sure you do use a woven interfacing, medium woven interfacing for those pieces. What else? What else? Oh my gosh, I'm just so excited to share this bag with you. It is amazing. So, am I forgetting anything? I don't think so. How about we get to making this bag? All right, so you're gonna need some rivets. Number 5 zipper tape, 2 swivel clasps, 4 rectangular rings, 2 D-rings, a slider, 2 zipper pulls, optional 4 strap ends, 4 purse feet, a zipper end, magnetic snap, and your nameplate. Going to need your crossbody strap piece, 2 crossbody connector pieces, 2 handles, 4 accent pieces, and 4 handle connector pieces, 4 zipper panel pieces, your exterior and a lining for your front pocket piece, your slip pocket pieces, 2 exterior and 2 aligning main panels, your faux piping, your slip pocket piece, your 2 lining top ends, an exterior and a bottom piece for your lining, and some foam. I'm going to go ahead and do my handles and straps off camera. If you need a class for that, it's down below in the description. Okay, so now we're going to work on our placement for our purse feet. So you can see I have my Decovil Heavy fused to my bottom main panel outside of the seam allowances. I'm going to use my pattern piece and pop holes where my purse feet is, marking is, and transfer those marks onto my exterior piece. I'm also going to find the centers of my long edges and my short edges of my bottom piece, and then I'm going to go ahead and install my 4 purse feet. If you do need a class on how to do that, it's down below in the description. Okay, so that is all done. I have attached foam to this piece. I've also put foam onto my 2 exterior main panels, making sure I cut the foam about 1 inch or so outside of the top corners. Okay, so I have put my nameplate centered into my top or my exterior front pocket piece. I'm gonna find my top centers of my lining, top and bottom centers of my lining pieces and of my exterior pieces, and I'm going to use my pattern to place a mark where my female end of my magnetic snap is going, or the male end of my magnetic snap is going to go. So go ahead and install that there. I've gone ahead and done that. I've put a piece of Decovil Heavy behind the prongs for extra stability. Now we're going to work on that faux piping piece. So I'm going to use double-sided tape. You can also use clips here if you prefer. I have I'm going to fold this piece wrong sides together like this along the long edge. And then I'm going to match the raw edge of this up with the top raw edge of my front slip pocket panel. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to baste this in place with 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Next, I'm going to take my lining panel here. First, trim off, you can trim up your faux piping pieces like so. You're going to take these 2 pieces, put them right sides together, and clip along that top edge. So you're now sandwiching that faux piping piece. We're going to sew across here with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Once you've done that, you're going to press these two pieces wrong sides together, finger pressing that seam really nice. You can see how the faux piping is popping out there, which is exactly what we want. To hold this in place, I'm just going to line up my bottom and give it a really good finger press. If you've used cottons here, you can definitely take this to the iron and give it a good press. I'm just going to hold these in place with my clips. Make sure everything is nice and tight. And then what we're going to do is top stitch along the top and baste all the raw edges together with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so that is done. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use my pattern piece, and I'm going to put the markings for the placement of my handle connectors. We'll be using that later. So I'm just marking with an erasable pen, flipping my pattern piece over and doing the same thing. I have the holes all punched out in my pattern piece so I know where I'm marking them. So on the bottom and then down, or on the bottom and on the top like so. I will do that on both panel pieces. Okay, so now I'm going to take my pocket piece. I'm actually going to use some double-sided tape here. If you're not using vinyl, you can definitely go ahead and use some pins if you prefer. Now those bottom markings that we marked is for the placement of our slip pocket here. So the bottom of our slip pocket should fit right in between those two markings. I'm also going to mark my centers of my top and my bottom just to make sure everything is nice and centered. So I'm going to line up the center and those markings, make sure it fits good there. Clip it to the bottom. And then I'll remove my double-sided tape and stick down those sides. Again, only use double-sided tape if your machine does not mind sewing through it. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and baste that in place. Okay, so that is all done. So I'm going to go ahead and do my markings on my back panel. Okay, so now we're going to work on our accent pieces. So I've drawn a center line down the middle of my accent and my connector pieces. And what we're going to do, you can definitely use clips here if you prefer, but double-sided tape definitely does help. They will be outside of the seam allowances, so you definitely could do this. Fold those long edges into that center line. Okay, I'm going to do that with all of your pieces. So 4 of them put aside for now, and we're going to work on our connector pieces here. So I'm going to measure down, I believe it was 2 1/4 inches, and make a line. On the wrong side, the opposite side of where you put the line, I'm going to put a little bit of double-sided tape, making sure I'm outside of the 1/8 of an inch seam allowances here. Put on my rectangular ring to that line and fold it back, sticking it wrong sides together like so, and using the tape to hold it in place. I'm going to measure down 1 inch as well and make a line. That'll be for sewing later as a guide. Do the same with the other 3. Okay, so that is all done. Make sure they're all about the same height, which they are. Now I've done my accent pieces and the same way, and I've put my double-sided tape in the middle, and I'm just taking my pattern piece and I'm marking my accent piece placement. This is just to get that perfect angle. Take off your double-sided tape and align these accent pieces in between those lines. It's okay if it hangs over. Do the same for all 4. Now you'll see those accent pieces cover up those side part of the pocket pieces, which is perfect. That's going to hide those raw edges. Go ahead and top stitch these in place with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance up each of the folded lines of those accent pieces. Okay, so that is all done. Now we're going to do a similar thing with the connector pieces. Once again, using those markings. We've already done the 2 dots at the top. We are going to mark the bottom placement of these connectors. Take off the double-sided tape, match up the bottom, and bring the connector folded edge where the rectangular ring is, and match it up with those dots. And we're going to top stitch up each side and across that 1-inch line that we drew. And that gives us room to put rivets in after. Okay, there we go. I've gone ahead and I've installed my rivets into those connector pieces. Now we have to install the female side of our magnetic snap. So what I'm going to do is kind of press along my male side that I've already done, and it'll create a little divot in our fabric. Go ahead and install the female side right there, making sure to back them all with your Decovil heavy scraps or Peltic scraps, and I like to use a little bit of tape over top of the prongs. Okay, so now we're going to take our bottom piece and we're going to match up the centers of our main panel and the center of the long side of our bottom piece. Clip it in place. And you'll see that the bottom end will go kind of where that little cutout is on the bottom of the main panel. Should fit perfectly there, which mine does. Then we're going to sew across here with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Next, what we want to do is we want to press that seam towards the bottom of the bag, and we are going to top stitch that seam in place with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. You'll repeat this process with the other side of the bottom and the bottom of the other main panel. So once that is done, this is what we have. Now we are going to sew up the sides. So we are going to kind of fold this right sides together. Make sure you're lining up your accent pieces. We definitely want them to match up on these side seams. And go ahead and clip the side seam in place all the way down. Lining up those strappings. We definitely want them to have a nice clean line, as where they meet is a definite visual point of interest in this bag. We're going to sew down here with the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance and do the same with the other side. Okay, so that is done. So you can go ahead and you can trim off the excess here. And now we're going to box these corners. So we're going to match that center seam of the sides and the center clip that we had made, or center marking we had made on the short sides of the bottom pieces. Clip these in place. If you can press that seam open, that would be great to avoid extra bulk right there, especially when sewing over it with a domestic machine. The less bulk, the better. You'll do this on both sides, and then we're going to go ahead, put it on our machine like this, and sew across here with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, which I have done. I also did an extra stitch within the seam allowance just to strengthen that seam, and then you can go ahead and you can turn this right side out. Make sure your corners are nice and pointed, which mine are. Look how amazing that strapping looks, and we match up perfectly. Okay, go ahead and you can set aside this for now. Okay, so now we're going to work on our crossbody connector pieces. So I've drawn a center line down these. Again, I'm going to use some double-sided tape. Fold the long edges into the center. Grab your D-ring. First you're going to go ahead and you are going to sew down those folded edges with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance top stitch. Now once that is done, you can go ahead and you can take your D-ring. I'm going to use a little bit of double-sided tape on the bottom of each short edge just to hold these in place. Take your D-ring and then fold your connector around the D-ring, wrong sides together, matching up the short bottom edges. Okay, so I'm going to measure up a 1/2 inch from the bottom, and this is going to help us with the placement of where we want to put these. So we're going to match it up nice and centered along the top, that 1/2 inch line. We want the 1/2 inch of the connector to be holding or up and out of the seam allowance like this. This will just help give it a little bit more stability and a place to put rivets later. I've basted those in place nice and centered. Now we're going to work on our zipper panels. So I do this a little different than the pattern. This is my standard go-to way to do this. So I'm going to measure in 3/8 of an inch on both of the short ends of all 4 of my zipper panel pieces. I'm going to use some double-sided tape to hold these in place. I'm going to go ahead and fold the short ends into that line that we just drew. Okay. Now we have all of them. Make sure they're all about the same length. I'm going to take my zipper here, and what I'm going to do is on one side on the back, I'm going to mark a 1-inch line with the pen that does not erase. On the opposite side of that, we're going to fold down each side of our zipper at a 90-degree angle like so. And then we're going to baste these in place. What this does is creates a natural stop right at this side where the zipper will be closing. So that is done. Trim up your little wings here, and then you can go ahead and pull your zipper tape apart. Okay, so on one of our lining pieces of our zipper panel, we're going to measure in 1/4 inch from the left-hand side. I'm going to use double-sided tape. Feel free to use clips here. So this piece, lining piece, is right side up. We're going to take our zipper tape right side up as well, match up that 90-degree angle with that 1/4 inch mark that we just made, and stick them together. Then we're going to take our zipper panel exterior piece, put some more double-sided tape or clips along the top here, and we are going to put this right sides together with our zipper tape and our lining piece, making sure we match up those folded edges. We want them to be perfectly matched. And we're going to do the same with the other two, but we are going to measure in 1/4 inch from the right, put our zipper tape with the right side up going the opposite direction, and we are going to sew these together with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. I always change into my right zipper foot at this point. It helps get nice and close to the zipper teeth, as well as almost always ensure a nice straight zipper. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to press these nice and tight wrong sides together. You can definitely finger press this. If you're using cotton, you can definitely go ahead and iron this. I'm going to use double-sided tape as my pressing agent. Again, only do this if your machine can handle the double-sided tape. Do the same on the opposite side to bring them wrong sides together. Press it nice and taut away from those zipper teeth. And then I'm going to go ahead with the 3 untaped sides, use some clips to hold them in place. So the folded in edges and the long raw edge along the bottom as well. And what we're going to do is we are going to top stitch along the zipper teeth and the 2 folded in short edges and baste the raw edge along the bottom. Okay, so I've already gone ahead and I have done my zipper and lining pocket pieces here. If you want to do them as I do them, you can go ahead and watch the class down below in the description. Just make sure you leave the bottom of your zipper pocket open. Okay, so now we're going to take the side that has our zipper pocket on and one of our zipper panels. You want these to be right sides up, both of them nice and centered. So you want the zipper part that has the 90-degree angle to be facing to the left on this piece. Clip them in place. And then what we're going to do is take our lining top band, find the top and bottom centers, and then put this right sides together with that, matching up those centers, adding it into the clips. And then we're going to sew across here. Okay, now we want to fold this so the panel or the seam is pointing towards that top panel, and we are going to top stitch that seam in place with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now you want to make sure that these are nice and even when you match up these centers, so we know our zipper tape will be nice and even, which mine are. Then we're going to take these two, put them right sides together, tuck your zipper tails out of the way, line up those top panels so we have a nice seamless line. That's where I like to match up my sides first, and then go ahead and clip the rest of the sides together, just down those side pieces, not the bottom yet. Do the same with the other side, matching up that top panel band there. Okay, then we're going to start at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance to about 2.5 inches or so down, and then branch out to a 1/2 inch seam allowance on both sides. That'll make it so our lining closer to the bottom is a little bit smaller than our exterior, so we don't have a droopy lining. At this point, go ahead and change back into your standard foot and sew these together. Again, starting at the top for about 2.5 inches or so with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, and then branching out to a 1/2 inch seam allowance to the bottom of the side. Now we're going to do the bottom slightly different than the pattern here. You want to find your top and bottom, or your long side and your short side centers of your lining bottom piece. And now we're going to take our lining bottom piece and put it right sides together with the side that has the slip pocket on it. Clip it in place. It should line up almost exactly like how our exterior piece did here. And then just on this side, we are going to go ahead and sew this in place with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Okay, we're going to leave the rest of the bottom alone for now. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and take our exterior piece and put it right sides together with our lining, like so, stuffing it into the bottom here. You can see it slides in nice and easy when we leave that entire bottom open. We're going to match up the centers of our main lining pieces and our main exterior pieces. And then we're going to line up our center seams on the two sides. Pressing those seams open if you can. Now this is why we cut that 1 inch square out of our foam interfacing, because this part does get bulky, and this just helps reduce that bulk, so it's not so hard to sew over it, especially if you're on a domestic machine. And then you're going to go ahead and distribute the fabric evenly between those clipped marks to clip the exterior and the lining pieces together. Okay, next we're going to go ahead and we are going to sew these together with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. If you are on a cylinder arm or a free arm like I am, definitely go ahead and sew it as I am doing here. If you're on a flatbed, you can go ahead and sew this together from the inside of the bag. I find that is the easiest way to maneuver this around. Now that that's all done, make sure everything was caught, and then go ahead and turn your bag right side out. You can see how this is such an arm saver, leaving that whole bottom open like I did. Go around, make sure everything was caught nicely, which it was. When it looks good, go ahead and stuff your lining into the bag like so. Push your zipper panel and your top panels down, and then use some clips and finger press these top seams in place to prepare for top stitching. Again, the bottom of our bag is completely open on the lining side. Now we're going to go ahead and top stitch all the way around here with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now that that is done, I'm going to go ahead, I've already done it, and I've put 2 rivets into my sides just to secure my crossbody connectors a little more, and now it's time to close up that bottom. So you're going to pull out your zipper pocket, reach in through the hole at the bottom of your zipper pocket, and pull through your entire lining bottom here. I'm using waterproof canvas, so it's a little bit stiff to do this, but trust me, it's worth to do it this way. It just makes turning the bag so much easier. Once you get that whole bottom out, you're going to go ahead and match up the other unsewn side of our bottom piece with the unsewn side of our the other lining panel. Clip it in place. We're going to sew this exactly like we did that first side. The only difference is we're doing it through the zipper pocket this time. Go ahead and sew this with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. That is done. We're going to go ahead and box these corners again exactly like we did with the exterior piece, where you're matching up that side seam with the center clip that we made on the bottom piece, and then sewing across these with a 1/2 inch seam allowance as well. Okay, once that is done, go ahead and stuff the lining back through that zipper pocket opening. Double check that it's completely sealed, which ours is, and then you can go ahead, fold in the raw edges if you haven't already of the zipper pocket piece, and top stitch that shut with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. All that's left to do is put on your zipper end, match up that 1 inch line that we drew on one side, and it should be nice and straight. Go ahead, trim the tail up, put on your zipper end, put on your straps, double check your work, make sure it all looks good, admire it, looks so nice. and then we're done. All right, that's it. That's all. Isn't that a fun make? Like, my favorite part was actually how these accent straps or accent straps and the straps came together. It just, or connectors, I guess they're called. This is just so beautiful, and I believe this bag is going to sell right away. I'm going to have it on my craft market table this weekend, I am sure. Anyways, if you did like this video, please do give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. If you'd like to support my channel further, you can definitely buy me a coffee. That's down below in the description. And if you haven't, if you didn't know already, I do have live online classes on my membership side, and all those replays for all of our past classes are there. So if that is something that interests you, that is linked below if you wanted to check it out as well. Anyways, until the next one, bye.